The door creaked open like a coffin lid in a horror story, and there he stood, my brother Alex, with his new wife, Elena, clinging to his arm like she'd just won the lottery. But this wasn't a celebration, it was an invasion. "Vacate the room." My dad growled from his armchair, his voice a thunderclap that shattered the fragile peace of our old family home. His eyes, once warm with stories of our childhood, now burned with a fury I'd never seen. I froze in the hallway, heart pounding as the words hung in the air like smoke from a dying fire. What had Alex done to deserve this? Or was it her, the woman who'd swept into our lives like a storm, promising change but delivering only chaos? It all started unraveling on that dreary autumn afternoon, the kind where the sky hangs low and heavy, threatening to unleash its burdens at any moment. Our house, a weathered Victorian relic perched on the edge of Willow Creek, had always been our fortress against the world. Its gabled roof sagged under the weight of years, ivy climbing the brick walls like possessive fingers, and the wraparound porch creaked with every gust of wind. Inside, the air smelled of aged wood and faint lavender, Mom's favorite scent, lingering long after she was gone. Dad sat in his warm leather armchair by the fireplace, a blanket draped over his knees, his arthritic hands clutching a faded photo. "Album!" He was a shadow of the man who'd built this life for us, his once broad shoulders now hunched from the toll of grief and time. Sarah had become the keeper of this fragile kingdom. At 28, I'd put my dreams on hold art school in the city, a chance to paint the world in colors beyond the muted grays of our small town. Instead, I stayed brewing Dad's tea, managing his medications, and listening to his stories of better days. "Your mother would be proud," he'd say, his voice cracking as if convincing himself more than me. Alex, older by 3 years, had always been the golden child, the one with the charisma, the ambition. He'd left at 18, suitcase in hand, promising to make it big and send money home. For a while, he did. Postcards from New York, checks that covered the roof repairs. But then the postcards stopped, the checks bounced, and rumors trickled in through mutual friends' bad investments, a string of failed startups. Whispers of gambling debts, and now here he was, back on our doorstep with Elena in tow. She was stunning. I'll give her that long raven hair cascading like a waterfall, eyes the color of emeralds, and a smile that could charm the devil himself. But there was something calculated in that smile, a sharpness that made my skin prickle. They'd met at some upscale gala, she a budding interior designer, he entrepreneur scraping by. Marriage followed quickly, a whirlwind affair that we learned about via a terse email. Found the one. Wish you could be here. No invitation, no details. Dad had crumpled the printout in his fist, muttering about fools rushing in. As they stepped inside, rain pattering against the windows like impatient knocks, Elena shook off her coat, revealing a silk blouse that screamed city sophistication amid our rustic decor. "Oh, what a charming place," she cooed, her accent a faint Eastern European lilt that added an exotic flair. So much potential. Potential? The word grated on me. This wasn't a fixer-upper? It was our history. Alex clapped Dad on the shoulder. "Too hard, too familiar after years of absence." "Good to see you, Pops. We've got news we're expecting." His grin was wide, but his eyes darted nervously, avoiding Dad's gaze. Dad didn't rise. He didn't smile. Instead, he set the photo album aside with deliberate slowness, his knuckles whitening. Expecting what? Charity? The room fell silent, save for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner, a relic from Mom's side, its chimes a reminder of time's relentless march. Elena's hand fluttered to her belly, a subtle gesture that confirmed the pregnancy, but her expression hardened. "Just a fraction." Alex laughed it off. That forced chuckle I'd heard 1,000 times when he was caught in a lie as a kid. "Come on, Dad, we're family. The apartment's a shoebox, damp walls, noisy neighbors. This house has rooms to spare. We'll help out, promise." I watched from the shadows of the hallway, my hands twisting the hem of my sweater. "Help out? Where was the help when Dad's hospital bills piled up after his fall last winter? When I worked double shifts at the local diner to keep the lights on? Resentment coiled in my chest like a serpent, hot and venomous. Alex had always gotten away with everything: the skipped chores, the borrowed money never repaid. Mom had doted on him, calling him her little adventurer, while I was the reliable one, the anchor. Now, with her gone, the imbalance felt like a gaping wound. Dad's voice cut through the tension again. "Vacate the room." He pointed upstairs toward the guest bedroom, my bedroom, the one I claimed after Alex left. It was my sanctuary, walls lined with bookshelves groaning under novels and sketchpads, a window seat overlooking the overgrown garden where Mom used to plant roses. I'd spent countless nights there, dreaming of escape while tethered by duty. Sarah's been holding the fort. If you're staying, she moves. Blood first, but only if you earn it. Elena's eyes widened, a flicker of indignation crossing her face before she masked it with concern. "Oh no, we couldn't possibly displace her. Maybe we can share for now." "Share?" The audacity burned. Alex shot her a look, then turned to me, his expression pleading. "Sis, it's temporary. Just till we get on our feet. You understand, right?" I didn't respond, my throat tight with unshed tears. Understand? I understood betrayal, the way it snaked. And under the guise of family ties, the argument erupted then, voices rising like a crescendo in a symphony of discord. Dad recounted every abandonment, the missed birthdays, the unanswered calls. Alex defended himself, painting a picture of hard knocks and bad luck, Elena interjecting with tales of their struggles in the city. "We've lost everything," she said, tears welling artfully. "This baby deserves a stable home." Stable? Our home was stable because I made it so, scrubbing floors, balancing checkbooks, holding Dad's hand through sleepless nights of pain. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the parlor, I slipped away to the kitchen, the heart of the house where Mom's recipes still lived in a dog-eared notebook. I brewed coffee, the aroma of fleeting comfort, but my mind raced. Why now? Whispers from town suggested Alex's investments were more like Ponzi schemes, Elena's design business a front for luxury spending. Had they come back because they had? Nowhere else, or was there a plan to claim more than a room? That night, as rain lashed the windows, I packed my belongings into boxes, each item a memory. The quilt Mom sewed, the painting I'd done of our family in happier times, Dad strong, Alex laughing, me in the background, always watching. The guest. My room felt violated already, Elena's perfume lingering from her brief tour. I lugged the boxes to the garage, a cold, drafty space filled with dusty tools and forgotten bikes. Converting it into a bedroom meant stringing up sheets for walls, laying a sleeping bag on the concrete floor. It was humiliating, a demotion in my own home, lying there in the dark, the hum of the refrigerator a distant lullaby. Anger gave way to sorrow. Tears soaked my pillow as I thought of Mom. She'd have mediated, her gentle voice soothing the storm. "Family is everything," she'd say, but what if family was the storm? Alex's return wasn't a reunion. It was a siege. Elena's presence felt like an intruder, her belly a weapon in this war of inheritance and loyalty. Days blurred into a tense routine. Alex and Elena claimed the upstairs, their laughter filtering down like salt in wounds. Dad retreated further. Into silence, his meals untouched, his eyes distant. I tiptoed around them, avoiding eye contact, my resentment festering. One evening, overhearing them in the kitchen, Elena's voice low, scheming about updating the place for resale, my blood ran cold. Resale? This house wasn't an asset. It was our soul. I confronted Alex in the garden the next morning, frost crunching underfoot. "What are you really after?" I demanded, my voice trembling. He sighed, raking leaves with false nonchalance. "Sarah, it's not like that. We need help. Dad's old. He can't manage alone." Alone? I'd been managing. His words twisted the knife. "You left us alone," I spat. "Now you waltz back with her, expecting us to roll over?" Elena's shadow fell across us then, her hand on Alex's arm, a united front. "We're family now," she said softly, but her eyes were steel. Family, the word, tasted bitter. As I stormed back inside, Dad called me to his side. "Don't let them break us," he whispered, his hand frail in mine. But the cracks were already there, widening with every passing hour. Weeks passed, the house a pressure cooker of unspoken accusations. Elena's pregnancy advanced, her glow a stark contrast to Dad's pallor. She redecorated subtly new curtains, fresh paint, and her room erasing traces of me. Alex helped Dad with chores, but it felt performative, a bid for favor. I worked longer hours, saving every penny for escape, but guilt anchored me. What would happen to Dad if I left? One stormy night, as thunder rattled the panes, Dad suffered a flare-up pain shooting through his joints, leaving him bedridden. I nursed him, Elena hovering awkwardly, offering tea that went cold. Alex paced, worry etched on his face sore. Was it fear of losing his safety net? In the quiet hours, Dad confided in me. I knew about Alex's troubles. Letters from creditors, but that woman ... she's the poison. His words fueled my suspicions. Was Elena the architect of this return, eyeing the house's value in a rising market? The invasion deepened. Friends stopped visiting, uncomfortable with the tension. Town gossip swirled. The prodigal son returns, but at what cost? I felt isolated, a ghost in my own home. Yet, amid the chaos, flickers of old bonds emerged. Alex sharing childhood stories, Elena's rare vulnerability about her own lost family. But trust was shattered. The vacate the room edict a scar that wouldn't heal as winter approached. Snow blanketing the world in deceptive peace, I unearthed Mom's old journal in the attic. Her words leaped off the page. Protect each other, but beware the wolves in sheep's clothing. Was Elena the wolf? Or were we all in our pain devouring one another? Little did I know the real unraveling was yet to come, a hidden will buried. Secrets, and a lawyer's knock that would expose the fractures we'd ignored. But in that moment, huddled in the garage, I vowed to fight. This house, this family was worth saving or destroying if that's what it took to find peace. The invasion had begun, but the battle was mine to wage. What if the home you fought for was never yours to begin with? That's the question that haunted me as I sat in the lawyer's office weeks later, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and betrayal. The hook was set the moment Mr. Hargrove, our family's attorney for decades, cleared his throat and said, "Your mother left a will, but it's not what any of you think." Connecting straight from that fateful night, where Dad's command to vacate the room had splintered our fragile unity. This revelation would turn our world upside down and leave us all scrambling for shelter. The days following Alex and Elena's arrival blurred into a haze of simmering resentment and forced civility. The house, once a haven of quiet routines, now pulsed with an undercurrent of hostility. Mornings began with the aroma of Elena's exotic coffee's dark roasts from far-off places that overpowered the simple black brew Dad and I preferred. She'd hum softly in the kitchen, her belly rounding gently under flowing maternity dresses, as if she were already the lady of the manor. Alex, ever the peacemaker on the surface, would shuffle in, hair tousled, offering half-hearted apologies for the noise of their late-night discussions. "We're just planning for the baby," he'd say, his eyes avoiding mine. Planning, the word hung heavy, laced with implications I dared not voice yet. Dad retreated deeper into his armchair. The photo album, his constant companion, his grumbles were low at first complaints about the rearranged living room, where Elena had pushed the old oak table to the corner to make space for a modern bassinet she'd ordered online. "This ain't a showroom," he'd mutter, his voice raspy from disuse. But the tensions escalated subtly, like a slow-building storm. One afternoon I found him staring out the window at the garden where frost had claimed Mom's roses. "They're changing everything," he whispered when I brought him tea. His hands, gnarled and trembling, clutched the mug as if it were a lifeline. I nodded, my own anger mirroring his. How dare they waltz in and repaint our memories? I kept to the garage, my makeshift. Exile. The space was damp and echoing, lit by a single bulb that swung like a pendulum, casting eerie shadows on the concrete walls. I'd strung up old sheets for privacy, piled boxes into a semblance of furniture, but it felt like a prison. Nights were the worst. The cold seeped through my sleeping bag, and the distant sounds of Alex and Elena's laughter upstairs, twisted like knives, hurt festered into something darkered out, suspicion. Why had they really come? Whispers from town reached me at the diner. Alex's business ventures had collapsed under debt. Elena's designs, more about spending than earning. Were they here for refuge or to stake a claim? The breaking point came over a strained family dinner. One crisp evening, the table laden with Elena's attempt at a fusion meal spicy curries clashing with our comfort foods. Candlelight flickered, casting elongated shadows that danced like accusing fingers. Elena, ever the conversationalist, leaned forward, her emerald eyes sparkling. This house is prime real estate, you know? With the market booming, we could sell. It split the profits, and everyone starts fresh. A new beginning for the baby. Her voice was honeyed poison, smooth and insidious, dripping with feigned concern. Dad's fork clattered against his plate, his face flushing crimson. Sal? This is our home, not some flip project. You've got greed in your veins, girl? The words exploded like gunfire, shattering the fragile truce. Alex jumped in, his chair scraping back. Dad, calm down. Elena's just thinking ahead. Mom always said the house was for the family who needed it most. And right now that's us with. The baby coming, the debts piling up. His slip hung in the air, a devastating revelation that sucked the oxygen from the room. Mom's words? Dad had always insisted the will left everything to him, a straightforward inheritance to keep the roof over our heads. But Alex's casual mention planted seeds of doubt that rooted deep in my mind. Elena reached for Alex's hand, her smile unwavering, but I saw the calculation in her gaze, a predator sensing weakness. That night, sleep evaded me. The garage felt suffocating, the air thick with the musty scent of old oil and forgotten tools. I tossed on my pallet, Mom's face haunting my thoughts, her gentle smile, her warnings about family bonds fraying under pressure. What if Dad had hidden something? Doubt gnawed like a relentless rodent, urging me to act. At dawn, I crept into the attic, the stairs creaking under my weight like reluctant confessions. Dust motes danced in the slivers of morning light filtering through the grimy window. Boxes towered like ancient sentinels, labeled in Mom's neat handwriting. Christmas ornaments, Alex's school projects, family documents. My hands trembled as I sifted through the family documents box, yellowed papers whispering secrets. There, buried beneath deeds and old tax returns, was a sealed envelope thick, official, addressed to my beloved family, to be opened together. My heart raced, a drumbeat of anticipation and fear. Why sealed? Why hidden? I clutched it to my chest, the paper cool against my skin, and slipped back downstairs before the house stirred. That morning, over coffee in the diner during my break, I dialed Mr. Hargrove's number, my voice barely above a whisper. I found something about Mom's will. His response was measured, professional. Bring the family. We need to meet. The days leading to the meeting were a torturous limbo. I said nothing, observing the invaders with newfound scrutiny. Elena's belly grew, her movements graceful but possessive. She touched the walls as if claiming ownership, murmur about nursery colors that erased my childhood bedroom's faded blue. Alex hovered around Dad, offering help with chores that felt insincere, his eyes pleading for forgiveness I couldn't grant. Dad, sensing the shift, grew quieter, his defiance crumbling into weary resignation. I did what I thought was best, he confided one evening as I helped him to bed, his voice cracking. Best? The word echoed hollow like at the lawyer's office was a stark contrast to our chaotic home, a bastion of order with mahogany desks, leather-bound books, and the faint hum of a grandfather clock marking time's inexorable march. We gathered thereon. A rainy Tuesday, the patter against the windows a somber soundtrack. Dad sat rigid in his wheelchair and insisted on bringing it for his comfort, his defiant stare fixed on the floor. Alex lounged casually, but tension mined his jaw. Elena beside him, hand on her bump, her smile a mask of politeness. The quiet observer turned instigator, clutched the envelope like a talisman. My pulse thundering dot, Mr. Hargrove, silver-haired and bespectacled, welcomed us with a nod, his office smelling of polished wood and old ink. He gestured to seats around a polished conference table, the envelope now in his hands. Sarah brought this to my attention, he began, his voice steady. But I've had a copy all along. Your mother was thorough. He cleared his throat, the sound amplified in a tense silence, and unfolded the yellowed paper with reverence. The will has a clause, he explained, his words dropping like stones into a still pond. Mom, in her infinite wisdom, had foreseen this, our family's propensity for discord, inherited from her own fractured upbringing. The house belonged to us all, a shared legacy, but only if we lived in harmony. Disputes, especially those escalating to legal action, triggered a failsafe. Forced sale, proceeds donated to the charity she'd supported in her final years as shelter. For displaced families, ironic in its cruelty. She wanted to prevent the fights that tore her apart, Hargrove said softly, his eyes meeting each of ours. Dad's face crumpled, tears tracing furrows down his cheeks. He'd known, hidden it to shield us from our own ugliness. I thought we'd manage, he murmured, voice breaking. Alex blanched, his smugness evaporating as realization dawned his aggressive return. The demands for space had lit the fuse. Elena's hand tightened on Alex's, her smile fading to a pale ghost. By stirring conflict, they'd authored their own downfall. The room spun with accusations unspoken. You knew? Alex turned on Dad, voice raw. And you let us fight? Dad's reply was a whisper. I hoped you'd change. Elena's composure cracked, a single tear escaping. We just wanted a home for our child. But her words rang false, tainted by earlier schemes of sale and profit. I sat silent, a storm of emotions, raging vindication mixed with sorrow. Mom's love, meant to bind, now severed us. The court proceedings were swift, a whirlwind of affidavits and arguments in a sterile courtroom that smelled of stale coffee and despair. The judge, a stern woman with wire-rimmed glasses, ruled on irreconcilable disputes, invoking the clause without mercy. The house was appraised, listed, sold to a young couple eager for a charming fixer-upper. We watched from the curb as movers hauled away our lives, furniture wrapped in plastic, boxes labeled impersonally. The for sale sign pierced the lawn. Like a dagger twisting in our hearts, Dad moved to a nursing home on the town's edge, a place of beige walls and echoing halls. His spirit, once fierce, broke. Visits found him staring blankly, the photo album his only solace. I failed her, he'd say of Mom, his voice a ghost. Alex and Elena retreated to a cramped apartment in the city, their dreams of grandeur shattered. Whispers reached me. Arguments, financial strains, the baby's arrival amid chaos. Elena's glow dimmed. Alex's charisma faded into regret. As for me, I scraped together savings for a tiny cottage and town, a place of my own. Walls bare but unburdened. Yet emptiness lingered, a hollow ache where family should be. Nights brought dreams of the old house. Echoes of laughter turned to shouts. In the end, Mom's love had tried to bind us, a safety net against our flaws. But pride, resentment, and secrets wove a noose instead. We were all homeless now, wandering souls in a world of what-ifs, forever regretting the words that ignited it all. Vacate the room. The legacy wasn't bricks and mortar. It was the fragility of bonds, shattered beyond repair. And in that reckoning, we lost more than a home, we lost each other.